trust me when I tell you, these guys are making a lot of money.
Here is UFC President Dana White.
So there's this Dana White sound, speaking of very loud, and this is the context that you need.
And sports media personality, the great Dan Le Batard.
There's a lot of people to thank, but let me start with Governor DeSantis.
And White, a big fan of GOP politics, allowing his organization to be used for political gain.
Dan Le Batard is a big mouth. He's all talk and no action.
Who's also not a fan of Le Batard. When this occurred at a MAGA rally in North Carolina,
Send her back. How are you any more American than her? You're more privileged. You're whiter. And if you're not calling it abhorrent, obviously racist, dangerous rhetoric, you're complicit.
and in the span of just seconds, Le Batard shows how much more of a man he is.
I'm telling you, since the guy has become president, I've been to the White House 4 times for dinner. He's been the most stand-up guy since the day I met him.
Than Dana freaking White. It came to everyone's attention once again how cheap White and his UFC cohorts are in this business. In a post-fight interview, Jared Cannonier told Daniel Cormier, "I'm broke, so I need to fight." He's not alone, which we'll address momentarily.
ESPN, because they're partners, and anytime anybody would say anything that Dana White didn't like at ESPN or anywhere, because he doesn't have any use for journalism, because he wants to do it his way, because he's a Trump dictator guy and he doesn't have any use for unions or fairness or anything else. He just wants his money.
Le Batard spilled the tea on the UFC ESPN partnership and how Dana runs the show. We have discussed in the past how the UFC pays their fighters anywhere from 10% to 18% of the sport's total revenue. It's a low-balling number. When confronted in the past on this issue, this is his reaction.
So what would you put the number at if it's not 8%?
Our numbers line up with sports our size.
Why are you not giving me a number?
Has been here for 16
No,
years.
but you're
Because what I won't do is give you an inaccurate number.
right. But you
So
said
off the top, he
you
did.
said Lorenzo put a number.
So
What
look it
number
up.
did he put?
Do
up?
your homework. You're a friggin' reporter.
Okay, so
Do your homework. Hey, if you're going to ask me that question, do your homework. Numbers were never my thing.
This is simply what he does, putting forth bullying tactics to try and score points with his loyal fan base. Kind of reminds us of someone, no?
It's a little harder to do when your sport has a bit of a monopoly. What many of them are doing is going and fighting the Pauls because it pays for more money going into the circus tent over there.
Take a look at the other leagues in comparison to White's 10% to 18%. The NBA pays its players about 50% of league revenue. The latest numbers from the National Football League via Mike Florio at Pro Football Talk show the potential. If a certain threshold is hit, players get a max of 48.8% of league revenue. Major League Baseball's executive director of the Players Association, ex-slugger Tony Clark, said it's close to 50%. The WNBA, much like the NFL, if a certain goal is hit, the players will receive an even 50-50 split. As Mediate wrote, in 2019, ESPN entered a $1.5 billion deal to exclusively distribute UFC pay-per-view events. The sport has money, but the pay structure doesn't allot it to the fighters. Like veteran Sarah Alper, had to start a GoFundMe to pay for training expenses. If it wasn't for, kid you not, Jake Paul and his promoter Triller giving a big donation, she likely wouldn't have met her goal. More stories kept pouring in of the low-paid Dana White's roster of fighters are rewarded for putting their bodies on the line in one of the most grueling sports so the Prez can profit.
This is the problem, though, when you have such an imbalance of power, when you've got the funds being created by the people in the system who are physically courageous and powerful, but in this instance are powerless. There's a danger to this kind of dictatorship. I don't know that the audience cares, though, as long as they get their pound of meat every time UFC is showing fight.